Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really tearing down the conventional approach to conflict resolution.
We are.
We're moving past the idea that discipline is just, about consequences.
Hmm.
And we're looking at a system designed for these really high-stress environments, specifically a model from Phoenix Academy that's all about what they call de-escalation with dignity.
And that's the mission right there.
Yeah.
This training is a complete shift away from, well, reactive crisis management.
Right.
For the staff, the goal sounds simple, but it's incredibly difficult. It's to learn how to confidently and consistently de-escalate these intense moments.
And to recognize their own triggers, too.
Their own triggers, exactly, and then resolve conflict using genuinely restorative alternatives. But the really revolutionary part, the training insists the whole process starts with the adult.
And that leads right to the philosophical core it just jumped out from the sources. It's this profound realization that students instantly read adult emotion. So the adult is always setting the emotional temperature of the room. And the sources have this brilliant, just non-negotiable quote.
I know the one.
Regulation is leadership. Calm is a strategy.
Yeah.
If you're not regulated, you simply cannot lead that situation.
It's the central hypothesis of the entire system. I mean, the adult is dysregulated. And when we say dysregulated, we mean that physiological state where your heart rate's up, your voice is tight.
You're just operating from instinct?
Purely from instinct, not strategy. The situation is absolutely guaranteed to escalate. So our mission today is to unpack the three sort of foundational pillars that support this model.
And then look at the practical training.
And then the practical stuff staff actually use to achieve that essential calm.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with that fundamental philosophy. What is escalation, really? Because the sources are very clear that the shouting, the defiance, that's almost always secondary. It's a mask for something else.
Exactly. The source material says, when language fails, behavior speaks. And that behavior is communicating some unmet need or an overwhelming internal state. The training identifies, I think it's 5 common issues that behavior often masks.
Okay.
Fear, embarrassment, past trauma, perceived disrespect, or a severe loss of control.
So if you understand the behavior as communication about one of those things, your response has to change, right?
It has to. The adult response stops being about punishment and starts being about, well, investigation.
That investigation mentality is so crucial because if you just focus on the aggressive behavior, you miss the root cause.
And you guarantee it's going to happen again.
Precisely. You might stop the symptom, but the underlying need is still there.
And that understanding leads directly into what they call the 3 pillars. They establish these as the foundational mindset you need before you use any technique.
And it's a hierarchy, right? Not just a checklist.
The total hierarchy. So what are these pillars?
What are they?
The first one is safety before strategy. If the student or, frankly, the staff member doesn't feel physically or emotionally safe, no technique is going to work.
Nothing will land correctly.
Nothing. The second pillar is connection before correction. You just can't effectively correct a behavior you haven't taken the time to understand relationally.
The student just sees it as an attack otherwise.
An attack, exactly. And the third is narrative before judgment. Seek to understand the whole story behind the behavior before you decide on an outcome.
That makes so much sense, especially when the sources talk about the common barriers to de-escalation. It seems like, 90% of them are adult-based failures to live those pillars?
They absolutely are. Barriers like adult misinterpretation, getting hung up on a student's tone and taking offense.
Right.
And the absolute crisis of staff responding while they are still emotionally activated. If staff are feeling slighted or triggered, those 3 pillars just collapse instantly.
So if the philosophy says the adult has to regulate first, we have to shift the focus from how do I fix this student to, hang on, how do I fix me?
That's the core directive.
Right.
Regulate first, respond second.
Yeah.
Yes. The training literally requires staff to look inward and identify their personal hot buttons, their staff triggers. It's so much easier to talk about a student who gets activated than to admit what takes you out of your calm zone.
So what were the most common adult triggers they identified?
Well, the list is pretty much common sense, but it's often ignored in training. Things like perceived attitude, outright disrespect, raised voices.
Non-compliance, defiance.
Exactly. But the most destructive trigger, the one that guarantees escalation, is personalizing student behavior. When a staff member internalizes that challenge, that eye roll, as a personal attack against them.
Instead of a symptom of the student's distress.
The strategic calm is just gone. vanishes.
But how realistic is it to ask someone who's being yelled at to just push past that? I mean, your body is activated, you're reacting, not leading. So what are the practical in-the-moment strategies they teach?
They focus on interruption strategies, things that move you from the emotional brain back to the logical brain. The first is physical, just taking a quick, deep, grounding breath. The second is cognitive,
A self-statement.
a really powerful self-statement. This isn't about me.
That reframing is everything, isn't it? It's how you switch from reaction mode to observation mode. Instead of, this is a challenge to my authority, it's
I see a child in distress.
exactly. And the training insists that staff not only identify their top 3 triggers, but also their physical signals of activation.
Like a tight chest, clenching your jaw.
Faster speech, yeah. If you know what happens in your body before you lose control, you can use your reset strategy, the breath, the self-statement, in that tiny window of opportunity.
And what if that window slams shut? What if the adult tries the breath, tries the self-talk, but they know they're still too activated? This is where the team element comes in, which I have to say was my favorite part of this section.
The tag out option.
The tag out option.
It's a game changer because it institutionalizes the fact that adults are human. If a staff member recognizes, I cannot be calm right now.
Another staff member just steps in immediately, takes over the interaction. It removes the ego, it removes the shame, and it prioritizes the student's need for a regulated adult.
I can see a logistical question here, though. Doesn't the student feel abandoned? Or doesn't it undermine the first adult's authority?
It's a calculated risk, for sure. But the sources imply that a quick, supported tag out is far less damaging than an adult making things worse.
Right.
And it requires clear communication. The incoming staff member takes the lead and just says something like, I'm here now to help us talk this out.
So it ensures continuity and safety.
And the authority being prioritized isn't the individuals, it's the collective authority of this safe environment.
That makes sense. Okay, so the adult is regulated, the conflict has stabilized. Now we can move into the student-facing techniques. What does the regulated adult do to de-escalate and restore that sense of agency the student has lost?
The immediate principles are all about slowing things down and minimizing threat perception. 3 key things to deploy right away. First, lower your voice to lower theirs. Second, validate emotion, not behavior.
Yep.
And third, offer choices to restore agency.
Okay, let's dig into that middle one. Validate emotion, not behavior. If a student is screaming and swearing, how do you validate the feeling without validating the conduct?
It's a very precise linguistic strategy.
Yeah.
You don't say, it's okay that you screamed, you acknowledge the emotional current underneath. This ties into the idea of using soft starts.
Okay, what's a soft start?
Instead of diving into the demand like, stop yelling, the staff member uses a neutral tone, neutral posture, and acknowledges the feelings first. The key phrase they teach is incredibly simple.
Which is,
I hear you, something's off.
I hear you, something's off.
Wow.
That provides so much space. It respects the student's reality while signaling that the adult is present and calm.
And that ties right into restoring agency. A student who's escalating feels a profound loss of control. The best way to restore safety is to give them a controlled choice, even a tiny one.
It shifts from demand to collaboration.
Exactly. Instead of sit down right now, the choice is, do you need 5 minutes to cool off here, or would you prefer to step into the hall and breathe? The power shifts back to the student in a safe way.
So, okay, we've de-escalated the moment, the student is calmer, but the conflict isn't actually resolved. Now you need accountability, but with dignity. This is where the training offers clear alternatives to traditional discipline.
Exactly. Traditional discipline often just focuses on the behavior detention, suspension. This system pushes toward restorative justice.
Right.
So beyond the immediate regulated pause or the adult reset partner, the core technique is the restorative reset conversation. And this is critical because it forces a shift from blame to unmet needs.
And the sources had 3 simple prompts for that conversation. Let's make sure everyone listening knows exactly how those reshape the dialogue.
The first prompt is just, what's going on? Open-ended. It's designed to get the student's narrative without judgment.
Just the story.
Just the story. The second prompt is, what were you hoping for? This is the key insight question. It bypasses the behavior to find the intention.
I find that one fascinating because it reframes the behavior from malicious to, I guess, just goal-oriented, even if the method was awful.
It does. And the final prompt is, what do you need right now? This returns agency and identifies what support is needed for resolution space, a snack, an apology.
So it's a progression from narrative to needs to resolution. It's a whole feedback loop.
A comprehensive feedback loop, yeah. It can then move into a re-entry dialogue and sometimes even collaborative problem solving to prevent it from happening again.
This whole progression is a system, but it's not truly over until the relationship is repaired, which brings us to repairing harm, which is so often the most neglected step.
It is the critical step after the conflict. Repairing harm means structured, reflective dialogue and accountability without shame. The goal is restoration, not making the student pay a price.
And the power dynamics are just completely redefined here.
They are, which is captured perfectly in one of the key quotes.
Yeah, that powerful distinction from the sources. Repair proves safety, punishment proves power. I mean, that one quote just sums up the entire cultural shift they're trying to achieve.
It does. If a student only experiences punishment, they only learn that the institution has power over them.
But when you choose repair,
You're proving to the student that the relationship is stronger than the conflict. And this mindset doesn't stop with students. It has to permeate the entire staff culture.
which is encapsulated in this concept they call, you're not my coworker, you're my family. And this isn't some fluffy team building exercise. It is a profound commitment to emotional accountability.
And it's essential for the rest of the model to even work. It demands that staff protect each other's peace. They have to intervene for each other without judgment.
And de-escalate each other, not just the students.
De-escalate each other. If you see a colleague nearing their trigger limit, you step in, not to criticize, but to support.
Can you give us a concrete example of what that staff-to-staff de-escalation looks like? Because intervening with a peer can be incredibly awkward.
It can be. Yeah. But the commitment means they accept being vulnerable. So imagine two staff members, Sarah and Mike. Sarah is dealing with a student who's loudly defying her.
Okay.
And Mike, watching from across the hall, sees her face tighten. He knows her physical trigger signal.
Right.
Mike doesn't wait for her to ask for help or to fail. He walks over and asks the cultural commitment question. How can I support you? Then he initiates the tag out. I can take this conversation while you reset, go grab a water. That is holding each other accountable with love, not shame. It maintains the shared emotional standards for the whole building.
That completely changes the dynamic of what teamwork means in a high-stress environment. The success of the student model is entirely dependent on the health of the adult system.
It is. This whole system from self-regulation to restorative dialogue is ultimately about creating an environment where the adults are so grounded and unified that students get the space to reclaim their own humanity.
And develop their own regulation skills.
Exactly. The emotional environment is set 100% by the adults.
So if we look back at this whole journey, from identifying your own trigger to having that restorative conversation, it all hinges on an adult's willingness to pause and choose regulation over reaction.
Especially in those first 3 seconds of a crisis.
Yeah. And the training encourages staff to choose one commitment to implement immediately. A trigger to manage, a new phrase to use, a team support behavior.
The whole system rises or falls on that initial commitment to change one thing.
So for you listening to this, consider everything we just covered. If staff success really hinges on one single behavioral shift that allows you to move from reaction mode to strategic observation mode, like committing to actively using the adult reset partner option with a peer, or truly internalizing that self-statement, this isn't about me, what commitment offers the quickest, most impactful path for you to establish your calm strategy in a high-stress moment?
That's the commitment that unlocks the entire restorative model. Something to mull over as you integrate this powerful knowledge.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into restorative and trauma-informed conflict resolution. We'll see you next time.